Thank you, Catherine. And thank you everyone so much for joining us for this historic announcement for the City of Providence. Today, we are announcing the final draft of our anti-displacement and comprehensive housing strategy. So we're just thrilled to really be here today to make this announcement. It's the first ever for the City of Providence, so it's kind of a big deal, and we're really excited about it. So we've long recognized the need for a comprehensive approach to housing in the capital city, but never has the importance of housing been more apparent than it has over the past year. So this year of 2020, as we all know, has really shined a spotlight on so many different needs in our community, but safe, affordable housing is really foundational to everything. And this year, to keep ourselves and our families and our communities safe, we've been asked to stay home. We've been asked to work from home if we can. We've been asked to educate our kids at home. So really having that safe foundation of home to build from is so essential for everyone, and it's never been more apparent. But even before the pandemic and the economic impact of the pandemic, the housing needs in Providence were urgent. So about 60% of the households in Providence are considered to be low to moderate income. And of that group, about 30% are considered extremely low income. So that means having a household income of about 30% of the median income for our area. In addition to that, about 45% of households are paying more than 30% of their income for housing. And of that group, 25% are paying over 50% of their income for their housing. And so housing costs continue to rise, and the median incomes of household in Providence remain stagnant. So over time, this cost burden is worsening. And really what that does is place more and more households in an unstable and unsustainable future. So we're really thrilled to be putting our effort and our focus on this issue right now. We've spent about the past year engaging with community partners, CDCs, nonprofit organizations, residents, neighborhood groups, advocates, and for-profit developers to really develop this comprehensive strategy. So our strategy lays out a 10-year blueprint for housing policies and programs, for regulations and investments. And it's really an action for us to collectively work on. So it's not just for us in government, it's a single framework that we can all be working toward to advance this overarching goal that we have to develop more diverse housing options in every single one of our neighborhoods in Providence. So we're also thrilled to be launching a new funding tool to begin the implementation of this plan. And so we'll be talking more about that, throughout the afternoon today. But with that, I'm really pleased to welcome Mayor Elorza to say a few words. Mayor, you've been a passionate advocate for housing equity and for access. And so we thank you for your leadership and your vision. Mayor.
All right. Well, thank you, Bonnie. And I want to begin by recognizing Bonnie and her entire team. Y'all have led the effort behind this. And I know it's been a lot of work and a long time in the making, but I believe that we've arrived at a very, very good place. And I do want to emphasize that, you know, we've gone through a number of rounds of public and community input into this, but what we're releasing today is not yet the final document either. There's still 30 days for the community to respond to it and offer additional feedback and additional edits that we will wrap into what will be the final version that should come after a month. But thank you for everything that you've done to move this project forward. And I also want to thank my colleagues on the City Council. This is something that collectively we invested in during last year's budget. We included it in the budget because we all recognized that it was important to take this approach and to do this work. So I thank you for this work and for other work that I'll mention in just a second, working in partnership in what we do. And so with that said, I wanted to just provide some context of why this is so important for me and why it's so important for the city. I grew up on Cranston Street, right on the corner of Cranston Street and Waldo. My family and I, we lived for about 22 years on the second floor of a triple decker. Now, 22 years, we were tenants on the second floor. You know, when you look back after that many years, we almost could have paid off a mortgage that many years living in the house. But that was the only home we knew. And my parents, they stretched their dollars as much as they could to provide a safe and secure place for my sister and I to live and to grow up and to get our education. So even though we weren't homeowners in that neighborhood, that's the only neighborhood that we knew. And up until this day, so much of who I am as a person, I tie back to the experiences that I had right there at 639 Cranston Street in those 22 years that my family lived there. And it's important that we do this work today because the unfortunate reality is that with housing prices continuing to increase and putting such a strain on families' finances, many families are being displaced from our city right now. And whether they're homeowners or whether they're tenants, many folks, these are the only neighborhoods and communities that they belong to and that they have. And we want to make sure that no one feels as though they have to move because of economic pressures. And absolutely, we want to make sure no one feels that they have to move in order to live in a better neighborhood. So as our neighborhoods and our city continues to rise, I want to make sure that all the families, everyone who has lived here, who has called it home, and has frankly been here in the city throughout all the rough times of the previous decades, that they can enjoy in the collective progress that we have as a city. So for that to happen, it's not going to happen on its own. We need to work together and collectively as a city to make sure that those opportunities that we're creating for the future are there and available to the people who have called Providence home and raised their families and lived here for all this time. And that's what motivates so much of the work that we're doing here and puts it together in our 10-year plan. Now, this 10-year plan is intended to be a comprehensive plan. So there are a number of really creative and innovative ideas that I've heard from advocates, that I've heard from my team, and that I've heard from the City Council. And so rather than approach this massive challenge piecemeal, let's approach it comprehensively. Let's take all of these great ideas and match where we are to where we want to be, and then be very strategic about all the steps in between that are going to be required in order to bridge that gap. Well, this 10-year plan is exactly that strategy to bridge that gap, to get us from where we are today to where we want to be in the not too distant future. And while we're doing that, it's important to understand that we have to put our money where our mouth is, and we have to put real dollars behind this. I know that at the state level, there's an ongoing conversation about a dedicated revenue stream for affordable housing, and I'm fully in support of that. But I do have to take this moment to just celebrate the fact that while the conversation has been taking place at other levels, here at the city level, we've taken action. Working with the City Council, we passed a law approved by the City Council, approved by the Providence Redevelopment Agency, and signed by my office that creates that fund, the Housing Trust Fund, that creates a dedicated revenue stream so that the city can continually invest in affordable housing projects throughout the city. So this is an exciting moment for all of us because not only do we have a plan, but we have funding to bring it about as well. Again, this work is never done and it has to be approached from all the different angles, but with all of the partners working together and having this common 10-year plan, this common goal that we're all working towards, I believe that there is nothing that we can't accomplish. So you're going to hear more from the PRA as they'll be releasing a call for housing projects that are seeking support from this Housing Trust Fund in the near future. I encourage developers and any property managers to apply for these funds, and you can do this directly from the PRA. But as we see this massive housing crunch here in Providence and throughout the country, our city is stepping up to the call and the need for action. That's what this plan and that's what these funds represent. So great job to Bonnie and the planning department. Thank you to the City Council for their partnership and their leadership in this work. And I look forward to executing on this work so that we can provide more opportunities for our families who live here to continue living here into the future. I'll hand it back over to you, Bonnie. Or did I flub it? Am I supposed to introduce the next person?
Okay, I think I'm back on. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, nope, Mayor, you're just right. Thanks so much. That was great. So as the mayor said, this plan has truly been a joint effort with the Providence City Council. And I do want to just recognize the leadership and the vision of the majority leader, Councilwoman JoAnnRyan. She's been a great partner in this work, and she's really had a lot of passion and energy to get these initiatives passed through the council. So I want to recognize her leadership. And I also want to recognize a few other council colleagues who have spent a lot of hours on this plan with us. Specifically, Councilwoman LaFortune, Councilwoman Miller, and Councilwoman Anthony have all worked many, many months on this plan and have really been a partner in this. But it's really my pleasure to welcome and to introduce Majority Leader Ryan.
Thank you, Bonnie. And thank you, Mayor Elorza. On behalf of the City Council, it's an absolute pleasure to be joining you and my colleagues in government for this historic moment to announce a collaborative effort focused on addressing affordable housing needs in our city. As Bonnie has mentioned, addressing affordable housing has always been an important concern for the council. And many of my council colleagues have worked for years on trying to figure out how we can get our arms around this crisis. When the council created the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in 2019, our goal was to encourage the production, preservation, and protection of affordable homes in the city of Providence. At that time, we directed 10% of all taxes received from tax stabilization agreements utilized by developers to offset their building costs. And those funds went toward creating this important fund. We hoped then to spur a movement to address our need for affordable homes and to assure that those investing in our city were not just investing in the properties that they were building, but rather investing in our neighborhoods, investing in our communities. We soon realized we needed more funding. Last October, as you know, the council announced that we were creating a $20 million bond to capitalize that Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And today, we're also announcing that the council's commitment to utilize that $20 million capitalization for the purpose of stimulating the investment in creation of affordable housing. We estimate that that investment will lead to the development of approximately 1,500 affordable homes over the next 3 years. I'm proud of the work that the council has done to recognize the need and the right of our residents to have access to affordable housing. I'm grateful to my council colleague, Deputy Majority Leader Mary Kay Harris, who has been an advocate for affordable housing for decades and has been an advocate for the legislative body to codify this commitment and led the way with the change in our TSA language that actually created the fund back in 2019. I'm grateful to my colleagues on the City Council, our affordable housing partners, the PRA, the finance teams, who put so much hard work into ensuring that this goal was not only attainable, but made sure that we could build upon the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Not only have we ensured that developers remain committed to investing in our community, but we have also dramatically changed our ability as a city to put affordable housing, to provide affordable housing for our residents. Now more than ever, our neighbors need reliable, quality, affordable housing. Today, we're making some exciting announcements, but the work doesn't just stop here. There's still more that needs to be done. I'm excited to share that in the new year, the City Council will continue its legislative initiatives toward addressing the housing needs in our city. We will be convening stakeholders and we will hold workshops on how to create and fund affordable housing in our city by connecting them to the resources they need to make these critical housing investments. The council has launched a portal on our website where we will begin to upload important links and information for developers and news as it relates to affordable housing legislation that the council will continue to put forth. Housing is a central component of quality of life for all of our residents. We look forward to working together in the new year with our partners to address this urgent need. A home provides shelter, safety, comfort, and stability. These are basic human needs that should be available to everyone. These are not luxuries, and they should not be out of reach to anyone because of income. When housing is reliable and affordable, our neighbors are happier, healthier, and better able to grow in their education, their careers, or their families. I look forward to continuing our work and our mutual commitment to affordable housing. I wish you all a happy and joyful holiday season, and thank you all for your hard work on this important topic.
Okay, thank you so much, Majority Leader. That was really great. I'm so happy to welcome our next speaker, Sharon Morris. Sharon is the Executive Director of the Omni Development Corporation. As a housing and community development executive, Sharon has led the revitalization of neighborhoods through residential and commercial real estate development, among many other things. Over the past 29 years, Omni Development has created over 1,400 units of affordable housing throughout 20 development projects in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Sharon is also a community leader in Providence and a longtime resident. And I think most exciting, at least for me at the moment, is her role that she's taking on as the redevelopment of Barbara Jordan 2. So Sharon and her team at Omni Development are partnering with the Wingate companies to launch a brand new project at Barbara Jordan 2 to build 80 new affordable housing units. I think we're just all so excited to see this project break ground. I really can't think of a more transformational redevelopment project for the city over the coming years. And the Providence Housing Trust is very excited to be helping to finance this project.
Sorry, your text, I'm running down right now.
So welcome, Sharon.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Mayor Elorza. Thank you, Councilwoman Ryan and Councilwoman Harris, and the rest of the City Council individuals who are responsible for this anti-displacement and comprehensive housing plan. This plan is very important to the work that we do in the city. Access, equity, and justice. This is the importance of affordable housing. And like Bonnie stated, for the past 3 decades, Omni has helped bring a renaissance to the city. We've worked in some of the poorest neighborhoods, replacing vacant lots, abandoned properties, and we're pleased to be able to provide housing to those individuals who may not otherwise be able to find housing. Affordable housing is important to this community. You know, we know that in Providence, housing is very expensive. The once diverse neighborhoods that, you know, I grew up in, they're no longer affordable to most residents. You know, the city, you know, gentrification, student housing problems that, you know, student housing that contribute to the problems. It's very critical. And therefore, affordable housing developers like Omni and other CDCs, the roles that we play in housing and affordable housing is very important because we build neighborhoods. CDCs, we build communities. You know, we try to engage our residents to what's going on in the neighborhood. And we also provide valuable resources to the residents that live at our developments. And with the current pandemic, you know, unfortunately, we realize a lot of families have been experiencing hardships with trying to afford rent. You know, we've been working with some residents and we've been successful with some, and then some others we may not have been as successful with securing resources. But within the last 2 weeks, Omni's worked with Rhode Island Housing and grant organizations that provide grant fundings. We're going to be able to provide over $80,000 in rental assistance to our residents before the end of the year, which will help them secure their housing. You know, so that's the role that community development corporations play in this affordable housing space. We have over 574 units in the city of Providence, and only 50% of those are income-based subsidized developments. So the other developments that we have in the city are affordable units that working families are responsible for paying rent. So I'm pleased to be able to pride myself on being an affordable housing developer that has a concern for the neighbors that that live in our apartments. As a resident growing up in Providence, not many people know, but my family, we lost our house to a fire in the 80s. And my house, my childhood home was burned to the ground and we lost everything. So I know what it feels like to be displaced. And I'm happy that my old home is currently the 327 Point Street, where Omni Development built their first affordable development. So that is, I share that. I don't share that with many people, but when I worked as a property manager, I literally say, I'm working in my old backyard. And so I'm very passionate about the people that live in our developments. I'm committed to the residents that we serve. And that's why I'm so excited about Barbara Jordan too, because I didn't grow up in Barbara Jordan, but that's my old neighborhood. And I know families that grew up in Barbara Jordan. So we're really excited to work with the City of Providence and we're excited to receive the Housing Trust Funds to help us finance Barbara Jordan too. This development, we will be able to provide 79 rental units and 4 home ownership units to first-time home buyers. This neighborhood will be truly transformed, and I'm so excited to create this housing development with my partner Wingate companies out of Massachusetts. It's very critical to this neighborhood. We are excited because we're going to have an on-site resident services coordinator. We've been reaching out to community organizations that provide services to residents to help them obtain housing, but once they get in, to make them good tenants, financial literacy training, budget training, employment opportunities that are provided by the Amos House. We plan to work with the Southside Community Land Trust. We plan to work with childcare providers to make sure that our residents have access to quality childcare. So affordable housing is important, but more important, it's important for community development corporations to get the support of the city, Rhode Island Housing, and other organizations, because we want to build neighborhoods and we want to build the residents that live in our development. So it's more than just an apartment for us. It's about building people, building communities, and that is something that Omni has been committed to since our inception. So I'm pleased to be here. This anti-displacement plan is very, very important with affordable housing in the city. And I look forward to an ongoing role and relationship as we navigate this Barbara Jordan process, because it's been a lot of work and the application's due on Friday to Rhode Island Housing. So that's just one step. And we hope that the application gets approved, because we've worked very hard and we're really excited to see what happens in the future. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sharon. That was really great. Good luck on Friday. I know that you're going to have an excellent application. And finally, it's really my pleasure to introduce the Deputy Majority Leader, Councilwoman Harris. Councilwoman Harris is so important to this conversation because she wears 2 hats. So she is a visionary leader in the City Council in her role as Deputy Majority Leader, and she's also a member of the PRA board. So really she straddles both worlds for this project and has really been a champion of seeing it through from sort of the idea, getting it passed at the council, and then implemented at PRA. It's really been a partnership with the Deputy Majority Leader. And I think all of us know and don't need to be told, but it's always good to remind everyone that the Deputy Majority Leader has really been a lifelong advocate and a champion, not just for this community, but in general for economic justice and social justice. So we really appreciate her leadership. And her role at PRA is sort of always making sure that our work reflects the community needs. And so we appreciate her input so much. So welcome, Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Bonnie. And thank you to the rest of the panelists. I really enjoyed hearing how far we've came. And Sharon, I wish you a lot of luck with your application. I know you're going to do well. You came so far. I want to thank you all today. I want to thank the mayor, first of all, Mayor Elorza, and our leader, our own leader, Ryan, I want to thank you, Bonnie, and also Sharon, because it's been a lot of work you have done on this project and especially towards affordable housing, and you have prioritized it for the city. I have said many times that affordable housing is a basic human right. And as it has been already said, I've been advocating for a long time for housing. We have been talking about equity in housing far too long without taking any meaningful action. And this is our first major investment in affordable housing. And I have seen, since addressing the basic needs around housing. As we live through this pandemic, where so many are out of work, and where housing insecurity, food insecurity is coming to full focus, housing insecurity is number one, coming in now, full focus. I'm beyond proud today that we are taking a monumental step for our residents. This is awesome. Over these past 2 months, these past 10 months, it's been 10 months already, the COVID virus has shined bright light on the inequities in our society. And with the potential for over 20 million Americans being threatened with evictions due to their lack of income from this pandemic, we will feel that right here in Providence. That's why we need to address our lack of affordable housing. Yet when I hear people use the words affordable housing, I often wonder, affordable for whom? That's why I have made it my mission to ensure that residents have access to truly affordable housing. But affordable for a single person making $60,000 a year is not the same for a single mother who's working at minimum wage, full time, and trying to feed her family and keep the lights on and the heat. I know, because I was one of those moms. That is why it's so important to me for today to happen. That is why I was proud to work with my colleagues on the City Council to create the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Like Leader Ryan said in 2019, to ensure that we were putting some of the taxes we received from our TSAs, tax stable agreements, forward, making affordable housing a reality. And I finally wanted to touch on a particular project, which we're here today, I'm so passionate about, and that is Barbara Jordan too. I have worked with my community and with Sharon to make sure that her and her team have been engaged and understand the needs of our residents. I'm so excited to see this program come to life and see the neighborhood I represent get beautiful new affordable homes, because our neighbors are hurting right now. And so many residents of Providence are being priced out of living in the city. You heard the mayor say that earlier, where they were born and raised. And that's taking these, that's why we're taking these barrel steps. It's just the beginning. The Majority Leader Ryan mentioned the council is fully committed to making affordable housing a priority. I look forward to working with community members, our affordable housing partners, our colleagues in government on embracing truly affordable housing and convening these groups in the new year to create legislation that empowers and spurs the growth of new affordable housing. I want us to create homes for those families, like that single mom who's working a minimum wage job. That is hard, that's hard work. It's gonna be hard work. It is, it's gonna be hard work. But it's work we need to do, and we need to do it together. So I ask you all to join us in your patience and endurance and any prayers to help us get this project through. So I'm so proud to be a part of this today in this celebration. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader, Deputy Majority Leader. That was great. I think we'll follow you anywhere. That was very well said. Before we wrap up today, I just wanted to recognize and give credit to where credit is actually due to my colleagues in our department. First to Martina Haggerty, who's the Special Projects Director, and Jessica Flommer, who's Principal Planner in our department. Martina and Jess have both spent countless hours and many sleepless nights incorporating all the comments from our community members and really shaping this strategy into the final draft that we have today. So thank you so much to Jess and Martina. Very well done. And I did want to just reiterate one thing the mayor said. So we are launching the final draft today, and we are opening up a 30-day comment period. So please use that time to visit our website, providenceri.gov/planning, to read the draft plan. And please send any suggestions or questions or comments that you have to Jess on our team. Her contact information is right there on the site. So again, thank you everyone. We're thrilled to be advancing this work today. Thank you for your partnership, and let's get going. With that, I'll toss it back over to the mayor to close us out.
So I believe we're going to take some questions. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor, we definitely are. Hold on just one moment. I'm just going to put my video back on so we can start this. So just to reiterate to our press corps, we were going to use the chat feature, but we're having a little trouble with that. So we're going to have to use the raise your hand tool. So we're going to, if you have questions, just please raise your hand using the function. And then we will field them as they come in. Patty, I'm just going to need a little assistance with fielding because we have to do a quick pivot. So I will first turn it over to Bill Bartholomew. Bill, if you can unmute yourself. Are you there, Bill?
Hi. Hi, Mayor. How do projects that are considered, I guess, upper class projects fit into all of this? In other words, sometimes we hear about people who say, look, I want to move to Providence and there's insufficient luxury housing, or however you'd want to frame it. So then that person ends up taking some of the existing housing stock, and it's kind of a two-directional problem. How does that fit into this overall conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bill. And what the report tells us is that we need housing at every scale of, at every level of the income scale. And you're exactly right. If there aren't units available on the upper scale, there's such demand for living in Providence that folks, nonetheless move into Providence, and they end up occupying an apartment that would otherwise be occupied by a family that's lower income and needs to find that affordable rent. So we need housing at every single level. And what this plan does, it looks at every single aspect to it. So yes, we're looking at how do we invest in affordable housing so that folks with lower incomes can afford to live in our city. But that's only one part of it. We're also looking at our zoning ordinance. Are there changes to our zoning ordinance that we need to make to allow for greater density or more development and encourage and incentivize more development of housing units? We're also touching on the issue of universities' responsibilities to house more and more of their students on campus, as opposed to off campus. And again, every time they're living off campus, that's another unit that's not available for families in our city. We have to look comprehensively at the role of companies such as Airbnb. These are, yet again, more units that are taken off of the market. So rather than focus on just one single idea or one single proposal, this is a big deal because it's a full comprehensive approach. And that's how you address these massive, almost intractable problems. You chop them down into bite-sized chunks, into each of its contingent parts, and you come up with solutions that address it. And as you start to stack these proposals and solutions on top of each other, then you start seeing that you're making an impact and a difference at scale. So that's the housing plan. When it comes to the housing trust dollars, so the housing trust dollars are specifically for the creation of affordable housing units. So, these are city subsidies that are going to go to incentivize to produce more affordable housing units. So by definition, those dollars are reserved to make sure that units on the lower end of the income scale are created so that more and more families can live in our city. And that speaks to the point that, look, we've seen the incredible quote unquote progress and growth that has been seen in other cities. Take Boston, take Seattle, take Austin, Texas, and congratulations to them for their success. But if success means that our lifelong residents get priced out of their own city, then that's not the kind of success that we want to see here. We want to see inclusive success that actually provides opportunities and ladders to the middle class for our own residents. And that's what investing in affordable housing directly allows for. So, the market takes care of units at the higher scale. At the lower scale, it requires, at the lower income scale, it requires subsidies. And that's what the city, for the first time in our history, are now in a position to provide.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Bill. Right now, I do not see any other hands raised. Does anyone have any other questions related? I see your hands raised again. Do you have a follow-up question?
Quick follow-up on with respect to short-term rentals, Airbnbs. That right now there's 505 active Airbnbs in Providence that are available that any of us could rent tonight, but there's not that many registration numbers. Is short-term registration something that'll be a part of this as well? So basically, you would have to go through a rigid process with the city in order to post something on an Airbnb. Is that something that may factor in as well to possibly discourage people from acquiring full buildings or full apartments and turning them into micro hotels?
So the goal of this plan is to create more housing units across the board in the city of Providence, which on its own will create more affordability, right? If there's higher supply, the prices will come down. And that's part of the goal. This plan, this 10-year plan, lists a number of the challenges that we have. It recommends a number of solutions to those challenges, but it's still incumbent upon us to come up with the specific policies or the specific laws that need to be passed at the city level to effectuate this long-term plan. So my answer to your question, Bill, is yes, this is something that has to be looked at, that we will look at. But in terms of filling in the details of what makes sense for what we want to accomplish as a city, that's still something that we're going to have to put our nose to the grind and come up with solutions together with the city council and with our stakeholders out in the community. So this plan is the lodestar, right? This is our guide. And now it's incumbent upon us to do, the hard work to execute on that plan and to get us going in that direction. So we'll be filling in a lot of the details, but absolutely, that's something that we want to look at.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Bill. So I'm looking right now and I see no hands raised. So I will take that opportunity to close us out of this portion. Thank you for everyone who came to speak about housing. Mayor, I don't know if you had any final words you wanted to leave us with.
Well, I just wanted to once again thank my colleagues on the city council. This really is an example of different branches of city government working together to deliver for our residents. So I want to thank you all for your leadership and for your voice and everything you've done to carry this up until this point. And I look forward to working to take it that next leg of the journey, and I'm sure we'll be doing that together. So congratulations to the entire team that worked on putting this together. I think that we're off to a really, really strong and historic start, but there's still a lot more work to be done, and I look forward to doing it together. Stay safe, everybody. Happy holidays, and look forward to seeing everyone on the other side of this soon.